Hello, I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream. Today, attacks allegedly committed by Boko Haram are tearing apart northern Nigeria. But what will it take to bring lasting peace? So here on the stream, when we told our online community that we were going to be tackling Boko Haram on the programme today, I can almost hear cheers coming off the laptops around the office. Malika Bilal, digital producer of the stream, explain why.
Cheers of finally.
Yes,
because Nigerians have reached out on Facebook, they've reached out on Twitter, and they look a little something like this that I pulled up on my laptop. This is a pitch from Farouk. Another person, this is from El Miskin, asking us to cover it, and this one from McIver, and he says he wants us to cover the killing of 59 school children in a federal government college in Yobe State by Boko Haram. Of course, we're going to talk about that today. We'll talk about daily life, but we also want to talk about solutions, and we can't do that without you. Tweet us with hashtag AJStream.
Now, our conversation here in the studio is joined by Aminu Gamawa, and Aminu is a lawyer and a conflict resolution expert. It's great to have you back here in the stream, Aminu.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. We're going to be hearing so much more from you in just a moment. But before we do that and get to the conversation about Boko Haram, we said that this was a community pitch. This actually came from you, and you can share your story ideas really easily. Just go to our Facebook page, which is where I am right now, and you need to go to facebook.com/AJstream. Scroll down and you will find so many places where you can suggest an idea, put in your pitch, and it too could be an episode on the stream.
Jarvis Salser, Executive Director of LPFI, and I'm in the stream.
An alleged killing spree by northern Nigeria's Boko Haram movement has killed more than 300 people this year. The death toll puts 2014 on track to become the bloodiest year yet in the rebellion. Fresh violence against civilians this week has added to that growing number. President Goodluck Jonathan maintains his offensive against the group has been a success and life will go back to normal in the region by May. But critics say he's losing ground to the insurgency that seems to be better armed and more motivated than the military. So, is victory against Boko Haram, is it even possible? And what will it take to bring lasting peace in northern Nigeria? To help us talk about this from Abuja, Nigeria, I'm joined by Reuben Abati. He's the spokesman for President Goodluck Jonathan. Also in Abuja, Senator of Borno State, Ahmed Dana Khalifa. And from Warsaw, Babatunde Rosenwo is a human rights activist. So gentlemen, it's great to have you all here in the stream. I want to start with Babatunde because I think in the last 48 hours, you have been in northern Nigeria. Can you give us a taste, a flavour of how Boko Haram and their activities are impacting everyday life for citizens there?
I've not been to the core places where the activities are, more rampant, but I've been in Nigeria for about 3 weeks. And I must say this, a lot of Nigerians are worried about what's going on in the northeast of Nigeria. And, every day you can hear the news, you get to hear the news 49, 15, 13. It's getting real and it's getting sad. And it's getting to a point Nigerians are confused on what exactly is going on. And it's quite unfortunate that the president or the government of the day thinks is winning the war against Boko Haram. The citizens don't feel that way, especially the people losing their loved ones. And I'm happy that Reuben Abati, the spokesman of the president, is quite here. It would be good to put some questions to him, and especially with the senator sitting down there. If a state is under the state of what we call emergency, how come Boko Haram is still striking for 4 hours in the secondary school without any response from the military, from the police or the armed forces? What exactly is going on? Nigerians are terrified and we're petrified and we're worried. How long are we going to be losing our kids, our mothers, our fathers, our uncles and sisters when the government is claiming that it's winning the war on terrorism? And this is the challenge to the government. The government must come down to the level of the citizens to understand that we are the ones being killed every day. And most of the government officials are safe. I'm sure the senator has his convoy of security men who guide him every day, mobile policemen. Reuben Abati works for the government. He's got extra security. What about the average citizen? What about the poor kids in the federal government college? What's going on? To me, the government is not winning the war on terror yet. It may have reduced. Kudos to them from pushing it from Abuja to some parts of the country, but any form of violence that's still engulfing 3 states on Nigeria is not yet won.
Babatunde, you throw out a number of issues there. Take a breath, take a pause.
Yeah.
Reuben, jump in the conversation.
Well, I do not agree with the gentleman that government is not winning the war.
All right.
Government is indeed winning the war, and what you need to do is to compare the situation today to what the situation was about 1.5 years ago. About 1.5 years ago, there was a regime of fear virtually across the country. The Boko Haram terrorists were attacking everywhere. Indeed, on a weekly basis, every Sunday, Nigerians went to church with trepidation. But since the declaration of the state of emergency in May last year and its renewal in November last year, the security agencies have been able to achieve a number of things. One, they've been able to push the terrorists away from their various camps. They've been able to make it impossible for them to enjoy a freedom of action. They've been able to check the impunity. A lot has been done in terms of collaboration with our neighboring countries. Government has also succeeded in mopping up a lot of small arms and light weapons, and we've been able also to develop a situation whereby the people themselves in those areas have taken ownership. What is happening now, what looks like a resurgence of terrorism, is act of desperation on the part of the Boko Haram elements. It's their way of trying to fight back, and they want to even, it seems, fight to the finish. And if you look at their operational mood this time around, they are involving in a lot of suicide attacks. But the security agencies, they deserve commendation for their efforts so far to fight back and to make sure that these terrorists do not succeed again in developing new camps inside Nigeria. So what they are doing now is mainly snap attacks.
Okay.
They come from across the border, the neighboring countries, they attack and then they run back.
Right.
And we have to continue to encourage the security agencies to continue to show determination and to continue to intensify their efforts. What government is doing now is to intensify the patrols, take the fight directly to the terrorists, because as President Jonathan has said, government is fully committed.
Sure.
The political will is there
to
ensure that no terrorist is allowed to carve out any part of Nigeria as an enclave.
Okay, gentlemen, take a pause for a moment, because I also want the online community to jump in, and they're actually giving us examples of what it's like to be living exactly what we're talking about. They live there.
Exactly. Ruben mentioned the state of emergency. Many of our community members are saying that the state of emergency isn't working. On Twitter, S. Karjar says, we're scared where the next bomb blast or shooting will occur. Another person writes in that Boko Haram has made living in northern Nigeria a living hell. And Amino, this last couple of tweets from Richard, he describes where he lives. He says, the town I live in was attacked last by Boko Haram almost a year ago. However, it borders some of the other towns that have recently been attacked. Movement is restricted. Public schools have been closed. Businesses closed by 6 p.m. Is this the norm?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I would like to start by extending my condolences to the families of those who lost their lives. I think it's very tragic. That is not the Nigeria we know, and that is not the Nigeria we want to live for our children. And I want to thank the online community for taking up this issue, because for quite a while the government has been showing an I don't care attitude toward this Boko Haram issue. Precisely because of the reasons laid out by Ruben Abati, the yardstick he is using in measuring whether Boko Haram are attacking or not is whether they are attacking church or not. It's wrong for Boko Haram to attack church. We don't want them to do that. It is a crime to do that. It's an act of terrorism. We also don't want them to attack schools. For the past 3 weeks, they have been attacking and killing innocent civilians on daily basis. I came from northern Nigeria. I come from the northeastern Nigeria. My family live there. So if you want to know what is happening, ask the people who are living there. If you ask a government official, all you get is propaganda. To be frank with you, the situation is deteriorating. This conflict has been there since 2009. And according to the Council of Foreign Relations and Nigeria Security Tracker, over 15,000 people lost their lives from 2011 to date. And as you rightly mentioned, just day before yesterday and throughout last week, almost on daily basis, villages are being attacked. If you go to the Borno now, if you go to Meduguri, if you go to Konduga, if you go to Bama, these are names of places. Children are scared of going to school because they may be slaughtered by Boko Haram. People are living in fear and anxiety. People are confused. They don't know what to do. They want the government to help them. The role and responsibility of the government is to protect its citizens. If you can protect a part of your population, but you cannot protect the rest, then it means there is problem. And another thing that Reuben Abati did not acknowledge about the terrorists, they are terrorists running around the border area. What is the government doing to stop them from having free entry and exit into other countries? Nigerians living in the border areas have been displaced. Thousands of Nigerians are now in Niger, Chad, and Cameroon as refugees. What is the government doing sincerely to confront this problem? Our army on daily basis are complaining that the arms the government is giving them, the morale and the motivation is not enough for them to confront and fight the Boko Haram people, because they are heavily armed and our security personnel are underfunded, are under-equipped, are under-armed, and that is why these things are happening.
In the conversation, I want to be able to, you make points, I need the guests to be able to actually come back to you. You did mention Borno. Have a look here on my laptop, Borno State. This is one of the most active areas for Boko Haram. We have a senator from that area here, that state here. Senator, in the last year, have you seen things getting better for your citizens or worse? There seems to be an escalation, but you're there, these are your people. What's happening to them?
I'm disappointed in the statement made by Dr. Abati that they are getting over the problem. But as far as I know, it is getting worse by the day. And even the security agencies themselves are confused as to how to handle. If you observe the happenings within the last 1 month, virtually there was no response from the military against all the invasions that the insurgents has made. They were handicapped or they are afraid, I really don't know. But the type of statement that Dr. Abati is making is the one which is confusing Mr. President. If only they are serious, they should accept defeat. They should accept that things are bad, so that let them look for a solution. I am a senator representing that area. I came back 3-4 days ago from Borno, and I went and saw the destructions perpetrated by the insurgents. How can you say you are getting over when even your military are running away when the insurgents comes to attack? So it is much more worse than 2001 or last year. So let me tell you one thing. Even the last year he was talking about, it was the military who were killing our people. And when the young men were fed up, they raised up and they were able to fish out all the insurgents or Boko Harams within their midst and handed over to the security agencies. And some of them ran away. And after the Boko Harams ran away, went and they developed or established their own camps. Up till today, I have never seen any military action against any camp that has succeeded.
All right, Senator, this is problematic because I'm hearing a lot of critique.
The one immediately after the state of emergency.
Right, so what we're hearing right now is a lot of critique. Yes, Reuben, I want to get in, I'm going to come straight back to you, but I do want to get in our audience, our community, really want to hear about solutions. So I'm going to come straight back to you, but Malika has some of those comments right now because we're going to push this on. We can talk about what happened. We want to talk about what happens next. I think that's going to be much more positive.
Definitely, and so many people have things to say. We're actually getting about 50 tweets per minute at this time.
Right.
This is one of them. AK says, the Nigerian government is in self-denial. Why would an attack last hours and no intervention? Does that show competence? So Reuben, moving towards that comment, that criticism really, to solutions on Facebook, Emmanuel says, what will it take for Nigeria to stop Boko Haram? It's when you stop their sponsors and their sponsors in the government. Can you address this critique that the government is allowing this to happen?
Well, quickly, let me make a number of clarifications. I think there is a lot of misconception about the Boko Haram and the reality on the ground. Earlier on, I tried to explain the nature of this alleged resurgence, what looks like a resurgence, and the mode of operation of the Boko Haram. But the comment by the senator is most unfortunate, because in his position as a senator, he's in a position to get access to information and to be properly informed. And the kind of comment that the senator is making is the kind of comment that can demoralize the troops and also at the same time encourage the terrorists. I think that what is important is that the responsibility for checking terrorism is something that should be collective, and no one should do anything or make such comments that can embolden or encourage the terrorists. Because at the end of the day, this is our country, and what government has done, where government has done well, we should be prepared to acknowledge what has been done. What I can say very clearly is that President Jonathan is committed, fully committed to the war against terrorism. Only the other day, to mark the 100 years of Nigeria, there was a symposium on human security and peace and development.
Can you not please go to that centenary nonsense? Can you not start that discussion on the centenary nonsense? We lost kids, 43 kids in Yobe,
allow me to finish?
All your government could do is to go on and celebrate. No, let's get this right. I think there's something wrong with those giving you information from Borno, Adamawa, and Gram. For example, Mr. President has only been to Borno once. He did not go there until the opposition parties went there. What is wrong with the president moving down to Borno after the 43 kids were killed? I need to clear something with you, Dr. Ruben Abati. See, you may sit in Abuja, you may sit in Aso Rock with Mr. President. You may be getting information from your aides, but it's about time you ask Mr. President, you advise him to go straight down to Borno and talk to the people directly. You're talking about people taking ownership of their own struggle. You're encouraging what you call local JTF. This is very wrong. You know the history of Nigerians, from OPC to Bakassi to everything. Every time you arm civilians, every time you give guns to people who are not trained to, after some time the conflict is going to come back on us. And how do you even judge that you're winning? Is it the number and increase of killings, or the reduction in bombings? And you also said something about the border. So you're claiming that the government knows that the insurgents cross the border every time, yet you allow it to happen. So what's happening under your watch? What's the excuse if you know where the terrorists are? You're claiming they're crossing the border.
Just a moment.
Let me come in. The insurgents are not coming from the border. They are within the country.
Oh, thank you, Senator.
They are within the country, and they are just a stone's throw from Maiduguri.
Government has been able to destroy their bases. Government has been able to check their freedom of action.
So
and government in this battle is placing emphasis on the well-being of the average Nigerian.
All right, gentlemen, I'm just going to ask you all to take a collective pause for a moment. Aminu, I know you want to jump. I'm going to ask you all to take, before we correct anybody, I'm going to ask you just to take a pause for a moment. Because what's really important, really important, is that we get to some solutions. Whatever your experience is in the government, Dr. Abati, Ruben, is that there are lots of people still critiquing what's happening and people are still dying. Our community is noting that. Malika, what are they saying?
Well, they have solutions of their own. I mean, one person says, losing my dad in this conflict is something I can never forgive the president for. The solution to this insurgency is to seek foreign interventions. One other solution, you tell me whether or not you agree, Malem on Twitter says dialogue is the best option.
Well, thank you so much. I think this, I send my condolence to him for the death of his father, and I think there are many people like him who lost their lives, and as a result of this conflict, that is what made it really tragic. And if we don't do anything about this conflict, it has a tendency and potential of escalating to other parts of Nigeria, and it has a tendency of destabilizing the whole West Africa, because the areas that are affected by this conflict are Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa particularly. And these are countries, the states that share borders with other countries.
But you said if we don't do anything about it, so what can
we do about it? We have to be sincere. We are in a war. People are being killed on a daily basis. Properties are being destroyed. People's means of livelihood is being destroyed. What is the government doing? You don't win a war by propaganda. You have to fight it. We want the government to succeed. I want the president to succeed.
Aminu,
the government is not doing what it is supposed to do.
I hear all the critique.
My solution to this problem is, and I have many, and the government is not willing to listen.
Go for it,
One
Aminu.
is this is a national security problem and we must stop politicizing it. Both the president and the opposition should approach this as a national security issue that is bipartisan, that is in the interest of the country. That is step number one. Step number two, our military, it has been now a matter of common knowledge. They have not been given the desired equipment and support they need. There is nothing bad in improving their well-being, welfare, and the equipment they need to confront these terrorists, who we all know from the videos we have seen online are heavily armed. The reason why the soldiers run is not because they don't want to fight. They want to fight. I have a brother who is serving in the army. For over 2 years now, he has been involved in this counterinsurgency. I want him to be safe. You are sending soldiers without giving them the necessary support they needed. You are sending them on a suicide mission. I want the government, with all the money they are spending on defense, to really take care of our soldiers, give them the support they need so that they can fight this war.
Okay, some really interesting points. You have to take a breath. You have to take a breath because you can't say what you want and then we want to hear back from Ruben. Ruben, we're really in the closing moments of this part of the program. Of course, we're going to continue in our post-show. But in terms of strategy, a winning strategy, you outlined how you felt the government was doing. What next?
Well, the gentleman who spoke, it's not true that the troops are not well equipped. The troops are very well equipped, and I say that comments like this, are capable of demoralizing the troops and giving the international community a wrong impression. The security agencies, the various security agencies involved in the fight against terrorism have shown great commitment, and they will continue to do so. Now, government is not just applying the military option. Government is also at the same time working with the state governments in the various affected states. It's also working with the international community, with our neighbors, to deepen intelligence gathering and to make sure that, the effort that is being made is a kind of concerted action.
Ruben?
And that there is serious collaboration between Nigeria and the neighboring countries.
So Ruben, I'm curious as to why there's so much criticism about what the government is doing. If you feel that you're doing, we're at the end of the show, so unless you want to read the news, I'm going to ask you just to hold tight for a moment. We're going to come back to you in the post show. But Ruben, just very quickly, why is nobody convinced that the government is doing enough? You heard all of the critique. That's just a tiny sliver of it. Why are you not persuading Nigerians that you're on the right track here? Ruben.
Sorry, I didn't quite
yeah,
hear you.
there's still so much critique. You're actually outlining your strategy. You feel you're succeeding. Why do you feel there's so much critique coming from Nigerians then about how you're dealing with Boko Haram? Where do you think that critique comes from? Why? Just very briefly, because we're just wrapping up the show right now. As you can hear, we have about a 7-second delay.
Sorry, I have issues with the earpiece.
All right. So, Ruben, we'll come back to you. We're going to take all of our guests to the post show at stream.aljazeera.com. If you're not near a laptop, you should get to one ASAP. Malika, our community, how have they been reacting?
Closing and leaving us for a little teaser for the post show. Abbas has a solution, which we wanted to hear. He says the situation is getting worse despite the presence of the military. Dialogue is the best way to end the crisis.
So we will find out, is there even dialogue between the government of Nigeria and Boko Haram? We'll find out that latest in just a moment at stream.aljazeera.com. If you're actually watching on TV right now, you won't miss out. You can actually go to our website and see what happened next from this point on online. So on the next show, hundreds of thousands of Syrians are under siege imposed by both the government and rebel groups. Many of them are starving or very sick. We're looking into the challenges of delivering humanitarian aid inside Syria. That is a conversation for another day. Meanwhile, we will continue with Boko Haram in Nigeria and how to deal with them in the post show. So see you online at stream.aljazeera.com. Thanks for watching. Hello again, welcome back. We are discussing Boko Haram in Nigeria. What can be done to bring lasting peace to the areas being torn apart by violence? Let's get right back to that conversation. Reuben Abati, you're a very popular man on this program. Everybody has questions for you. One of the things that I was just curious about was I'm hearing a lot of critique about how President Goodluck Jonathan is dealing with Boko Haram. I'm hearing from you how much progress you're feeling you're making. There seems to be a disconnect between the critique and how the government feels they're doing. Why is there that disconnect?
Well, I think people must just realize that we're dealing with an unconventional kind of war. What we're dealing with here is terrorism. And in many countries of the world, in virtually every country where there has been this particular challenge, nobody can say precisely when it will end. But what is important is the determination that government brings to the fight. If you look at the kind of comments coming from Nigerians, yes, I mean, the problem is painful, the deaths are tragic, most unfortunate, so it is natural for people to be angry, for them to respond the way they are responding. But clearly, those who live in Nigeria would readily admit that in terms of waging the war, the government has been consistent, and President Jonathan has continued to remain focused on ensuring that the main priority of government is ensuring the security of lives and property. But, you know, people have every right to be cynical, but at the same time, what we are asking for is for people to realize the very nature of this particular challenge that we're dealing with.
All right, so let me ask...
The other thing to note, of course, is that we will appeal to the media. Yes.
So let me just go to the senator. Thanks, Reuben. I just want to make sure that you
not to.
Right, I understand. You're appealing to the media to give you some time. Okay, let's get back to the senator. Senator, this is your constituency. You're senator for that northern part of Nigeria. What do you actually need?
Let me make it straight.
Yes. What do you need to fight Boko Haram?
Let me correct the notion that it is an unconventional war. It was unconventional last year, but the Boko Haram was sent out of the midst of the people. On that basis, the military have been killing my people before, and they were sent out into the bush. So it has become a conventional war. They are in the bush. If you go 5 kilometers out of Maiduguri, there are Boko Harams, and their camps are all over. Up till today, the military could not approach. They have been on the defensive rather than they should go on offensive throughout. What does it mean? And my people are now saying there must be a conspiracy somewhere.
Is it possible Senator, is it possible that just the Nigerian...
It is not difficult. It is not difficult if your military are equipped. It is not difficult for them to pursue the insurgents.
Mr. Senator, you are misinforming the...
I am not misinforming. I am not misinforming anybody. I am telling you a fact. What is existing in our society, that is what I am telling the world.
If you would like to listen to the fact is as follows. And it is that the military have not been killing civilians. On the contrary, it is the terrorists themselves who have been killing civilians, who have been destroying government infrastructure, who use civilians as shield when they go on operation. And indeed, the ICC prosecutor, when she investigated, pointed out clearly that, in fact, Boko Haram is a criminal group, and that they are the ones responsible for the killings in that part of the country.
All right, so gentlemen, I'm just calling time on this part of the conversation. Gentlemen, the reason I'm going to call time, Reuben, give me a moment. And Senator, just give me a moment. The reason I'm calling time in this conversation was we talked about this on Al Jazeera, on the stream, about 10 months ago, okay? And Senator, just hold tight for one moment, because I need you to just listen to this for a moment. So we're not hearing what you're saying, because I just want you to hear what I say for a moment. Here. Okay, everybody's on the same page. All right, so the reason we did this program was our community, Nigerians, wanted to know about solutions. I'm hearing you bickering back and forth about the army, the Nigerian government, this is whatever. What I want to find out is, what do you need, Senator? What do you need in northern Nigeria not to continually complain about what's happening right now? I need to go forward. So everybody's on the same page. Let's go forward. I feel like a school teacher now. I have lost my calling. Malika, take us forward. And gentlemen, please remember that, because we're running out of time. Just everybody take a breath. Malika, you speak.
I will take us forward with these series of tweets from Scarjar. Babatunde, I will direct this to you. One person, in looking at solutions, remember, says we need joint border monitoring with Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and Nigeria. Another person says we need to block all of the borders leading to neighboring countries, and we need to equip our armed forces with sophisticated weapons to fight. Do you think that'll work?
Yes, I think it would work. To be realistic, Dr. Abati knows that. He said it earlier on. Oh, some of the members of Boko Haram are crossing the borders. The senator says some of them are inside Nigeria. The first step is accepting ownership of the crisis. So if we want to partner with our neighbors, then the army must be given the right support. The question I still have to the government, why we are still going back a bit, and pardon me that we have to go back now, and this question is for Dr. Reuben Abati. If the military is well equipped to fight insurgents, how come they attacked a secondary school for 4 hours and there was no
Babatunde, I am just censoring that question. Babatunde, you asked that at the beginning of the program. We're not going to go full circle. We're not going to waste that time.
So the solution is part of that.
I think it's good that we are making progress. How do we get out of this conflict?
Exactly.
I think the first thing is to secure the people and prevent the attacks from happening. I have confidence in the Nigerian army. They have done well in other countries, and given the desired support and equipment, they have done wonderfully well in restoring peace in Liberia, Sierra Leone. And if we do the same, they are no match for the terrorists. They can do it. They can secure the people. We want the government to show leadership, to show a political will to really handle and solve this problem once and for all. We are calling on the president. If it means begging him, we want the president to please take this as a serious national security issue. Secondly, I think we have to look at the context and the root causes of these insurgents. Northeastern Nigeria is one of the most impoverished areas in Nigeria, in the world actually. And these terrorists recruit from the army of youths that are unemployed, uneducated, without future. It means that all this news you hear about Nigeria has one of the biggest economy and the rest goes to only certain group of people. The people in the north, particularly the northeast, are impoverished. We need a plan in order to economically empower the people of northeastern Nigeria, create employment opportunity, provide education, empower people. Nobody will join Boko Haram. I would not join Boko Haram because I know it is wrong and I know that I have better options. I want the government to please sincerely and genuinely address this problem. If you look at the 2014 budget, it was quite discouraging to see that despite all the problems that are happening in the northeast, only 2 billion naira was allocated for the rehabilitation of the area. I think apart from the military solution, which I think is essential, we also need socio-economic solutions that will really address the root causes of the problem and dry the source of recruitment of these terrorists.
All right, Reuben.
Well, if I may just say a word here.
Please do.
If I may say a word here, what has been outlined, the government is doing all of that. It's not just military option that government is adopting. Government is focusing on education, empowerment of the people, social inclusion, and the federal government is working hand in hand with the various state governments. Indeed, in January, President Jonathan participated in a special summit that was held in Yobe on the empowerment on an economic development framework for the northeastern part of the country. And it is not true, you know, the argument about poverty and Boko Haram. I do not think, you know, that you can make that argument convincingly. Many of the people involved, they are not involved because of poverty. They are involved for certain ideological reasons and with a lot of foreign influence. These are people who carry sophisticated weapons. Those weapons are not cheap. It's not really about poverty. We're dealing with something more devious, something more terrible.
What do you mean by foreign influence, Reuben? What's the foreign influence?
Can I come in for me? Can I come in for me?
Can I ask this question, dear guest?
That,
Go ahead.
Many of these terrorists, they have international connections. They have funding from foreign sources, and the issue is that, look, we're dealing with something that is global, something that is international. This is not just a local Nigerian problem. This is something that the whole world, has to come together to take as an international issue. So we're dealing with something that goes beyond the boundaries of Nigeria.
Senator, you wanted to add something to this conversation. Go ahead.
Femi, please. I want to clarify something. What escalated this issue of insurgents was when the 5 French personnel were kidnapped by the insurgents. At that time, there was a negotiation between French government and the insurgents. Okay? And the French government, I don't know through which country within the last the 3 countries, they provided the insurgents with arms. They gave them $5 million ransom. And that was the time when they became so strong.
All right. So, Senator,
and
this
from that time
feels
on,
like this is history.
They are not being arrested. They are not being arrested either in Cameroon or in Chad.
So, what do you need? Let me be very focused,
And that is the reason why
Senator.
they started staying.
What do you need in
Cameroon.
your region? What do you need, Senator, in your region? What help do you need? Be very specific.
What I want is, if government is not going to provide more arms and incentives to its troops, please let them give us the little they have. We have our young men who are ready to lay down their arms to flush out those insurgents. Let them just give us that chance. The little they have, let them give us. We are going to flush out within the next 2 months. I assure you that.
I have,
and we are going to return your arms. Whatever given to us, we are going to return it.
All right, Babajide.
Femi,
yes.
Let me just comment on this.
Right.
You cut me short earlier on. I quite
I
agree
did,
with you.
because you were repeating a question.
The Kanuris as his enemies.
But this is
the
the
Kanuris
point.
are
You
not
see,
his enemies.
Between the senator,
Gentlemen, I'm just going to ask you all to pause a moment because I've got 3 people speaking at the same time, including myself. Gentlemen,
I don't hide.
Bear with me one moment.
Everyone,
I'm just putting pause on for 1 moment. All right, gentlemen, please.
All right.
Thank you.
All
right,
between the senator and Dr. Reuben Abati, they cannot agree. Both of them are part of the government, which is funny. 2, if you look at the line of discourse, this Northeast is so poor, poverty, low education and everything. Is this government ready to accept that this is a ground for breeding terrorists? So let us not push too much on foreign influence. There would always be foreign influence, but are we ready to accept our responsibility? So the way forward is accepting responsibility that the government has failed the citizens over a period of time. Now, I'm not especially referring to President Jonathan. Government is a continuum. Government over time has failed the citizens in that region. Poverty is high. What do you expect from your citizens? So this government must take part of the responsibility in improving the lives, the standards of living of people in that region.
All right.
Literacy, there must be a reason to leave.
All right, Babatunde, I'm running out of time here. So do you want to finish your sentence in one line? Just finish your sentence. Go ahead.
The need is for all parties, the government and the Senate, to agree and take responsibility of the crisis in Northeast Nigeria and stop putting blame games around.
All right, so
take responsibility.
I'm going to wrap up here on my laptop. I've got from Al Jazeera's news page here for Africa. Nigeria names defense chief to combat rebels. He was actually signed in today. So Reuben Abati, I'm just going to ask you, just literally for one sentence, is this good news for the fight against Boko Haram that now you've got a former general who's now defense chief in Nigeria? Good news?
Hello.
Yes, Reuben. We have a new defense chief today, signed in today. Reuben, we have a new defense chief signed in today. I need to tell you that. You know that already. Good news for the fight against Boko Haram? Yes or no? And now we have the delay one more time. We're going to take this conversation online. Reuben is online and he has a great Twitter handle. We will share that with you. Let's wrap up here with Malika Bilal.
Well, you asked Reuben whether or not it was good news. Our community has an answer, not so much a yes or no, but Yakubu says high expectations trail the incoming Minister of Defense to find a lasting solution. So all eyes will be on him.
Wow. Okay, it's amazing. We had a conversation with Washington, D.C. We went to Poland. We also went to Abuja, Nigeria, and we still have much more to say. And you can do that at #AJStream. Now, though, moving on to what's coming up on our next program. Hundreds of thousands of Syrians are under siege imposed by both the government and rebel groups. Many of them are starving or very ill. And we're looking to the challenges of getting humanitarian aid inside Syria. Until then, we'll always be online at stream.aljazeera.com. Thanks for watching.